The Sleeping Lighthouse. The letter that arrived with the rain. On a quiet autumn evening, soft rain whispered against the windows of a small cabin tucked deep inside the forests of Maine. Inside lived an old lighthouse keeper named Elias Harper, though the lighthouse he once cared for had been dark for many years. Every night, Elias brewed a warm cup of chamomile tea, lit a tiny oil lamp, and listened to the peaceful rhythm of the rain. He believed every raindrop carried a memory from somewhere far away. One evening, as thunder rolled gently across the sky, someone knocked on his wooden door. When Elias opened it, no one was there. Only a small envelope rested on the porch, untouched by the rain. Across the front, written in elegant silver ink, were the words, "For the keeper who still listens." Elias felt an unexpected warmth in his heart. He carefully opened the envelope. Inside was a single piece of thick paper. It read, "The lighthouse still shines for those who remember. Come back before the last star fades." No signature, no address, only those mysterious words. Elias stared into the distance. The old lighthouse stood many miles away on a lonely cliff overlooking the Atlantic Ocean. It had been abandoned for over 20 years, or so everyone believed. That night, Elias could not sleep. The rain seemed to whisper the same message again and again. Come back. As dawn slowly painted the sky with soft shades of blue and gold, Elias packed a small leather bag, a warm blanket, a lantern, his old brass compass, and the small letter that had arrived with the rain. He quietly locked the cabin door behind him, without knowing exactly why. He began walking toward the forgotten lighthouse. Far above, hidden behind drifting clouds, one lonely star continued to shine, as though it had been waiting, just for him. Soft bedtime story for deep relaxation. The old lighthouse stood quietly beneath a sky filled with gentle stars. The ocean breathed in slow, peaceful waves, as if the sea itself had settled into a deep and comfortable sleep. Inside the lighthouse, Emma climbed the winding staircase one careful step at a time. The wooden stairs creaked softly beneath her feet, sounding almost like a sleepy melody. When she reached the lantern room, she noticed something unusual. The great light was glowing, not brightly, but with a warm silver shimmer, like moonlight resting inside crystal glass. A small envelope sat beside the lantern. It had no name written on it, only a tiny drawing of a crescent moon. Emma slowly opened the envelope. Inside was a single piece of paper. It read, "Every lighthouse keeps more than ships safe, some guide dreams. Tonight, one dream has lost its way. Will you help it find home?" Emma smiled gently. Outside, the sea remained calm. Far across the water, she noticed one tiny glowing light floating over the waves. It wasn't a boat, it wasn't a star. It moved slowly, peacefully, almost like a firefly drifting through the night. Without fear, Emma picked up her small lantern. As she stepped outside, the cool ocean breeze wrapped around her like a soft blanket. The mysterious light waited patiently in the distance, almost as if it had been expecting her. Emma took one slow step toward the quiet shore, and somewhere beyond the gentle waves, a brand new adventure was just beginning.
The old lighthouse welcomed Elias with silence. Not an empty silence, but the kind that wrapped around every thought and gently carried it away. He climbed the spiral staircase one slow step at a time. The wooden stairs creaked softly beneath his boots, sounding almost like whispered greetings from another age. At the top, he found the great lantern. Its glass windows were clouded with years of sea mist, yet moonlight still slipped inside, painting silver patterns across the dusty floor. Elias set his small lantern beside the ancient one. For a while, he simply watched the waves. The ocean stretched forever, breathing in slow, peaceful rhythms. Each wave rolled toward the shore with perfect patience, never rushing, never stopping. He remembered something his grandmother once told him. The sea never hurries because it already knows where it belongs. The words settled gently in his heart. Outside, a family of seabirds glided over the moonlit water without making a sound. Their white wings shimmered like drifting clouds. A cool breeze entered through the open window, carrying the scent of salt, pine trees, and distant rain. Elias closed his eyes. The wind brushed his face like a kind hand. Somewhere below, the tide whispered against the rocks, soft, steady, endless. It felt less like sound and more like breathing. Without thinking, Elias leaned back against the warm wooden wall. The lighthouse seemed alive, not alive with voices or movement, but alive with peaceful memories held inside its weathered stones. For the first time in many months, he wasn't thinking about tomorrow. He wasn't worrying about yesterday. He was simply there, listening, breathing, resting. And as the moon climbed a little higher into the quiet sky, something wonderful happened. The old lighthouse gave a single, gentle glow. Not bright enough to wake the world, only bright enough to remind one tired traveler that even the smallest light can guide a peaceful heart. The wind softened as midnight passed. Elias stood quietly on the lighthouse balcony, watching the sea stretch endlessly beneath a sky filled with gentle stars. The waves no longer crashed against the rocks. Instead, they whispered, as though they were sharing old stories only the night could understand. Inside the lighthouse, the warm glow of the lantern painted golden circles across the wooden floor. Captain Rowan placed another small log into the stove, and the fire answered with a peaceful crackle. "Every calm night has a secret," the captain said softly. "Most people are too busy to hear it." Elias smiled. For the first time in many years, he wasn't thinking about tomorrow. He wasn't worrying about yesterday. He was simply listening. Outside, a family of seals rested on a nearby rock, barely moving except to breathe with the rhythm of the ocean. Above them, white clouds drifted slowly across the moon, never in a hurry. The lighthouse clock chimed once. Somewhere in the distance, another lighthouse answered with its own gentle light, a silent greeting across miles of quiet water. Elias closed his eyes. He imagined every lighthouse in the world watching over someone during the night. Sailors crossing dark seas, fishermen returning home, travelers searching for safe shores. The thought filled him with a quiet happiness. Captain Rowan poured 2 cups of warm herbal tea. They sat together without speaking. Sometimes silence was the best conversation. The tea carried the gentle scent of chamomile and honey. The warmth spread through Elias's hands while the cool ocean breeze brushed against his face. Above them, thousands of stars continued their slow journey across the heavens. The sea breathed in. The sea breathed out. The lighthouse stood patiently between the sky and the water, just as it had for generations. And for one peaceful night, Elias felt that he belonged there too. As sleep slowly found him, he heard the captain whisper one final sentence. "The sea never asks us to hurry. Perhaps we don't have to either." The lighthouse light turned once more across the sleeping ocean, and the night remained wonderfully still. The wind softened as the night grew older. Elias stepped through the lighthouse door and climbed the spiral staircase. Every wooden step gave a gentle creak, as though greeting an old friend returning home. At the very top, the great lantern waited in silence. For many years, it had guided ships through darkness. Now, it rested beneath a blanket of dust, its crystal glass glowing faintly in the moonlight. Elias carefully wiped each glass panel with a soft cloth. As the last layer of dust disappeared, something remarkable happened. Tiny stars seemed to awaken inside the lantern, not real stars, but reflections so beautiful they looked alive. The room filled with warm, golden light. Outside, the ocean answered with shimmering silver waves. Elias smiled. "I think you've missed shining," he whispered. The lighthouse didn't speak. It didn't have to. Its light said everything. Far beyond the horizon, a small fishing boat changed its course. The captain noticed the familiar glow and quietly nodded. "There you are," he said with relief. No one in the village realized it yet, but hope had begun returning with the light. Elias stayed beside the lantern until dawn, painted the sky with soft shades of pink and gold. When the first birds sang across the cliffs, he felt lighter than he had in years. The lighthouse was no longer sleeping, and perhaps neither was his heart. The garden above the sea. Morning arrived without hurry. The first rays of sunlight touched the old lighthouse, painting its white walls with warm shades of gold. Elias opened the wooden door and stepped outside with a quiet smile. For the first time in many years, he noticed tiny green shoots growing between the stones. "They weren't here yesterday," he whispered. The lighthouse seemed to breathe along with the sea. After a simple breakfast of warm bread, fresh berries, and herbal tea, Elias climbed the winding path behind the tower. There, hidden from the crashing waves, was a forgotten garden. Wild lavender danced gently in the breeze. Small white daisies nodded toward the sun. Mint leaves released their cool scent whenever the wind passed through them. A weathered wooden bench stood beneath an old olive tree. No one had cared for the garden in decades, yet somehow it had never stopped growing. Elias sat quietly. He didn't read. He didn't think about the future. He simply listened. The bees hummed softly, the leaves whispered together. Far below, gentle waves rolled toward the shore in their endless rhythm. It felt as if the whole island had become one peaceful song. As he rested, a tiny robin landed beside him. The little bird tilted its head, watching him with bright, curious eyes. "Good morning," Elias said softly. The robin chirped once and flew away toward the lighthouse. Elias laughed. It felt like an invitation. When he returned, he discovered something he had never noticed before. On the northern wall of the lighthouse grew a climbing rose vine. Tiny white roses had opened overnight. Each flower carried the faint scent of honey and rain. Above them, carved into the stone, were words almost hidden by time. "Those who find peace must leave a little behind for the next traveler." Elias touched the old carving gently. Perhaps that was the true purpose of the lighthouse, not only to guide ships, but to leave calm behind for every heart that arrived. That afternoon, he gathered smooth stones from the beach. On each one, he painted a single word: hope, rest, breathe, home. He placed them along the garden path where future visitors might find them one day. No names, no signatures, only quiet gifts. As evening returned, the lighthouse lantern began to glow once more. Its gentle light reached across the calm sea like a warm promise. Somewhere beyond the horizon, another traveler might be searching for home. And without ever knowing why, they would follow the light. The waves continued their endless lullaby. The stars slowly awakened. The garden slept beneath the moon. And the lighthouse kept its peaceful watch until morning. The morning that remembered. The first light of dawn arrived quietly. It did not burst across the sky or chase away the stars in a hurry. Instead, it slipped over the sea like a silk blanket, touching the waves with soft shades of gold and silver. Elias was already awake. He sat on the lighthouse steps with a warm cup of tea, watching the horizon breathe. The world felt different now, not because it had changed, but because he had. The lighthouse behind him glowed with a peaceful warmth, no longer lonely, no longer forgotten. As the morning breeze carried the scent of salt and wildflowers, a small fishing boat appeared in the distance. The old fisherman from years before had returned. When he reached the shore, he smiled gently. "I heard your light again," he said. "I thought it was only a memory." Elias smiled. Maybe memories never truly disappear. The fisherman nodded. They wait until someone is ready to find them. Together they shared breakfast on the rocks, fresh bread, warm tea, and quiet conversation. No rush, no noise, only the sea keeping time. Before leaving, the fisherman handed Elias a tiny wooden compass. "It no longer points north," he said. "It points home." Elias turned it in his hands. The needle slowly settled, not toward any direction on a map, but toward the lighthouse itself. He laughed softly. So even a compass can learn where it belongs. The fisherman climbed back into his boat and drifted away, disappearing into the gentle morning mist. The lighthouse stood proudly against the sky. Its light was no longer meant only for lost sailors. It became a reminder for every heart. Sometimes the longest journey is not across oceans, but back to the quiet place inside yourself. As evening approached once more, the lighthouse lit its golden lantern. Far beyond the horizon, another traveler noticed the glow. And somewhere in the distance, another story quietly began. The morning beyond the storm. The final echoes of the storm drifted away with the night. When Elias opened the lighthouse door at dawn, the sea looked completely different. The waves rolled gently, reflecting the soft colors of a waking sky. It was as if the ocean had finally exhaled after holding its breath for centuries. A tiny sailboat appeared on the horizon. It wasn't lost, it wasn't afraid. It sailed confidently, guided by the warm light that still shone from the lighthouse. Elias smiled. For the first time in many years, he realized the lighthouse no longer needed him because of fear. It needed him because of hope. As he walked down to the quiet beach, he noticed hundreds of smooth white shells scattered along the shore. Each shell shimmered with a faint golden glow. An old woman from the village approached him. "They only appear," she whispered, "after a keeper has truly found peace." Elias picked up one shell and held it close to his ear. Instead of hearing the sea, he heard laughter, children playing, birds singing, a gentle voice that sounded like his father. "You kept the light alive." Tears filled Elias's eyes, but they were not tears of sadness. They were tears of gratitude. That evening, he climbed the lighthouse one more time. He lit the great lantern as the sun disappeared beyond the endless ocean. The beam stretched across the calm water like a path made of stars. Far away, every passing ship answered with a single bright flash, not as a warning, but as a quiet thank you. Elias closed his eyes.